Only 3%, that's all. Out of everyone who claims they want change, who swear they're ready to carry the fire, only a handful ever truly listen. The rest. They nod, they clap, they pretend they understand. But when it's time to face the mirror, to burn away the comfort and step into the storm, they vanish. They want the title without the scars, the crown without the weight. And that's why the chosen are so few, because listening isn't hearing words, it's letting them carve into your skin. It's letting them rip apart the lies you built to protect yourself. Most people can't take that. They close their ears, they hide in the crowd, and they call it living. But the 3%, they don't run, they don't hide. They know what's coming, and still they stay. Most people want comfort, not truth. That's the difference. They'll say they're searching for answers. They'll say they're hungry for change. But what they really crave is reassurance. Something soft, something easy. Something that pats them on the back and tells them they're fine just the way they are. Comfort is a drug, and they're addicted to it. It numbs the pain, it hides the cracks. It gives them the illusion that everything is under control. And illusion is so much easier to live with than reality. Truth doesn't feel good. Truth stings. Truth cuts you open and shows you everything you've been trying to avoid. It forces you to stare into the mirror without filters, without excuses, without the pretty lies you've been feeding yourself since the beginning. And most people can't handle that. They'd rather close their eyes, turn away, pretend they don't see it. They'd rather wrap themselves in blankets of comfort, blind themselves with distractions, drown out the silence with noise. Because truth demands something from you. Comfort lets you rot in peace. Watch them. They'll attend speeches, read books, watch videos, nod their heads at every powerful line. They'll say, "Yes, this makes sense. This is exactly what I needed." And the moment it ends, they go right back to the same routine, the same patterns, the same habits they swore they wanted to escape. They don't want the truth to change them. They want the truth to entertain them. They want it to inspire them for a moment, not transform them forever. Inspiration fades, comfort stays. That's why they choose it over and over again. But the cost of comfort is invisible chains. They don't notice it at first. They think they're free because they can laugh, because they can waste time, because they can avoid the hard questions. But every day they stay wrapped in comfort. The chains grow tighter. They stop pushing. They stop growing. They stop fighting. And by the time they realize what's happened, it's too late. Their dreams are gone. Their fire is gone. Their strength is gone. And all they're left with is a dull life, safe and ordinary, built on the foundation of fear disguised as comfort. Truth, on the other hand, doesn't let you sleep. It wakes you up at 3 a.m, pounding in your chest, whispering that you're wasting your time, that you're wasting your life. Truth rips the blanket off and drags you out of bed, forces you to face the work, the pain, the sacrifice. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired. Truth is ruthless. And that's why most people don't want it. They say they do, but deep down, they're terrified of what it will demand. Because truth always demands something. It asks you to give up comfort, give up safety, give up the lies you've been telling yourself. It asks you to break, to rebuild, to bleed, to climb when your legs are shaking, to scream when no one is listening. Truth strips away everything easy and leaves you standing naked with nothing but your willpower. And when most people reach that point, they fold. They say it's too much. They run back to comfort, kiss it on the lips, and beg for it to take them back. And it always does. Comfort is patient. It will always be waiting with open arms to cradle the weak. But here's the thing. Comfort never creates legends. It never creates warriors. It never creates the kind of people who change the world. Comfort creates shadows. Truth creates fire. And the reason so few embrace it, the reason only 3% will actually listen, is because truth feels like death before it feels like freedom. You have to be willing to die to who you were, to burn away the layers of weakness, to tear out the parts of yourself that cling to safety. And for most, that price is too high. They'll choose the couch, the distraction, the easy path. They'll choose comfort every single time because truth hurts. And people, they don't want pain. They want numbness. They want comfort. Listening means sacrifice, not just hearing. People confuse the two all the time. What's think nodding their heads, clapping their hands, repeating a few powerful lines means they've listened. But listening, real listening, isn't passive. It isn't a performance. It's violent. It shakes your foundations. It claws at your skin. It forces you to strip away everything comfortable. Hearing is easy. Listening is sacrifice. Most people don't want to sacrifice. They want the thrill of words without the weight of action. They sit in front of truth like it's entertainment, like it's just another show to distract them for a while. They love the energy, the fire, the rhythm of it all. But when the words demand they get up, change something, cut something out of their lives, let something go, they freeze. Because sacrifice means pain. Sacrifice means loss. Sacrifice means killing off parts of yourself you've been protecting for years. And most people are too weak to bury their excuses. When you listen, truly listen, something inside you dies. The lazy version of you, the cowardly version of you, the one who makes excuses every time life gets difficult. It doesn't survive real listening. That's the price. You can't hold on to the old you and claim you're listening at the same time. You can't cling to comfort while pretending you've accepted the truth. Listening tears those safety nets to pieces. And the moment you let the words sink in, the moment you let them carve into your mind, you realize that nothing will be the same again. That's why so few people ever really listen. Because listening isn't about being moved in the moment. It's about moving afterward. It's about quitting the habits you swore you needed. It's about walking away from the people who chain you down. It's about waking up earlier, working harder, going longer, even when your body is screaming for rest. Listening demands blood. Not the kind you spill on the ground, but the kind you bleed out of your time, your comfort, your energy. Listening drains you because it forces you to pour yourself into becoming something more than you were yesterday. But most people, they want the words to inspire them without touching their lives. They want the fire without the burn. They want the crown without the scars. They say, yes, I'm listening. But the moment it means cutting out their laziness, their excuses, their addictions, they stop. They cover their ears. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, they'll change later. And later never comes. Because later is the graveyard where dreams are buried alive. Listening requires choice. Not once, not twice, but every single day. The choice to wake up when the alarm hits instead of hitting snooze. The choice to grind when no one's watching. The choice to ignore the laughter of those who think you're crazy for trying. The choice to cut out what weakens you, even if it's people you love. And those choices are sacrifices. Every yes to growth is a no to comfort. Every yes to strength is a no to weakness. Every yes to truth is a no to lies. Listening forces you to choose again and again, until the sacrifices pile up so high you barely recognize the life you left behind. And that's why so few will ever listen. Because sacrifice doesn't sound appealing. No one wants to talk about the nights you'll cry alone, the mornings you'll drag yourself out of bed, the days you'll feel like quitting. No one wants to embrace the idea that listening means suffering, that growth tastes like blood before it tastes like victory. Everyone wants the story of triumph. No one wants the chapters filled with sacrifice. But that's what real listening is. Not applause, not clapping, not pretending to understand. It's a knife. It cuts away the pieces of you that don't belong. It demands you give up the life you knew in exchange for the one you're meant to live. And most people, when they hear that price, when they realize listening means sacrifice, they close their ears, they turn away, they go back to comfort. Because sacrifice isn't just hard, it's terrifying. And only the rare few are willing to pay it. The chosen few embrace pain as growth. That's what separates them. Everyone else spends their lives running from pain, avoiding it, hiding from it like it's a disease. But the few who actually listen, the ones who rise above the noise, they understand something the rest never will. Pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Pain is the sculptor. Pain is the fire that burns away the weakness. Most people flinch at the first sting. They pull back when life cuts them. When things get uncomfortable, when the path gets steep. They see pain as proof they should stop. Proof they're not meant for this. Proof that destiny isn't on their side. But the chosen, they don't see it that way. They look at pain and say, good, this means I'm in the right place. Because pain shows you the truth. Pain strips away the illusions. Pain reveals what you're made of. Think about it. Nothing worth holding ever came without pain. Muscles don't grow without tearing. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Strength doesn't come from comfort, it comes from wounds. But try telling that to the masses. They'll nod, they'll smile, They'll agree with the words, but when the real pain hits, they'll fold. They'll crawl back into comfort. Call it balance. Call it self-care. Anything to justify their retreat. They don't understand that every moment they run from pain, they're running from the very thing that could have built them. The chosen few are different. They don't just endure pain. They embrace it. They take it in, let it cut, let it scar, let it shape them. They learn to live with it, breathe through it, even welcome it. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know suffering is the toll you pay for transformation. Every drop of sweat, every tear, every late night with no applause and no recognition. That's the real currency of growth. Pain is the proof that you're changing, and pain has levels. At first, it's physical. The aching body, the sleepless nights, the exhaustion that makes your hands shake. Then it becomes mental. The doubt, the fear, the voice in your head telling you you'll never make it. And then it goes deeper. Emotional pain. The loneliness of being misunderstood. The isolation of walking a road most will never dare to step on. The chosen few don't escape these layers. They walk through them. They let each layer carve away the weaker parts until only something unbreakable remains. The irony is, most people spend their lives chasing pleasure, thinking it will bring them happiness. But the chosen few know the secret. Pleasure is empty without pain. Joy means nothing if you've never tasted suffering. Victory means nothing if you've never been on the edge of defeat. Strength means nothing if you've never been broken. Pain gives everything its meaning. Without it, life is shallow. Without it, growth is impossible. And here's the cruel part: pain doesn't ask for permission. It comes whether you want it or not. But the difference between the majority and the chosen is how they respond. The majority curse it, avoid it, try to drown it in distraction. The chosen look it in the eye and say, "Teach me." They let it carve lessons into their skin. They let it sharpen them. They let it burn them down to ashes, knowing that ashes are where rebirth begins. Pain isn't there to destroy you. It's there to strip you down to who you really are. The chosen few know this. They stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this building inside me?" They stop running from it and start running with it. And in that choice, they rise. They become the rare few who don't just hear the words, but live them. Because they understand the truth most will never accept. Pain isn't punishment. Pain is the price of becoming. The majority pretend but never act. They clap the loudest, they shout the words, they nod their heads as if they found some hidden truth. But once the lights go out and the noise fades, nothing changes. They go back to the same patterns, the same excuses, the same soft little cage they built for themselves. Pretending is easy. Acting costs too much. That's why most people are addicted to the performance of change instead of the reality of it. Watch them closely. They'll talk about their dreams. They'll post about their goals. They'll decorate their walls with motivational quotes. They make it look like they're chasing something, but in reality, they're standing still. Because talk is safe, symbols are safe, pretending is safe. Real action means risk. Real action means sacrifice. Real action means failure is now a possibility. And people would rather look like they're moving forward than actually move forward and risk falling flat on their faces. It's everywhere. They hide behind words like a someday and a soon. They promise themselves they'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. They promise the world they'll change, but they never leave the comfort of routine. They like the feeling of being seen as someone with ambition, but they don't like the pain of actually chasing it. Pretending gives them the illusion of progress without ever demanding the blood, sweat, and tears that progress requires. And here's the truth. They're not lying to you. They're lying to themselves. They convince themselves that reading is the same as learning, that talking is the same as doing, that planning is the same as building. They trick themselves into believing motion is the same as progress. They'll spend weeks, months, years circling the same ideas, dreaming about the same future, but never taking a step toward it. They wear the mask of action while standing in the same spot, afraid to move because moving means they'll have to face the truth about who they really are. Pretending is comfortable. It gives them applause without effort, praise without sacrifice. People pat them on the back for their words, their plans, their promises. And for a moment, they feel like they've already achieved something. That's the trap. They get addicted to the illusion of achievement. They feed on the recognition of their intentions instead of the results of their actions. And once you've tasted that fake reward, it's easy to stay stuck in it forever. But the cost of pretending is brutal. Years slip away while they're busy looking busy. Dreams rot in the corner while they're rehearsing speeches about what they're going to do. The clock keeps ticking. And while they're wrapped up in their little show, life keeps moving on without them. One day they look in the mirror, older, heavier, emptier, and realize they've been stuck in the same place for decades. And by then, it's too late. The mask has fused with their skin. They're not pretending anymore. They've become the lie, the chosen few. They don't have time to pretend. They don't need the applause, the recognition, the empty praise. They understand that pretending wastes energy that should be spent on action. They know words mean nothing without blood behind them. They'd rather fail 100 times in silence than pretend to succeed once in public. That's why they're rare. Because action doesn't just demand effort. It demands ego. You have to let go of how you look, let go of what people think, let go of the illusion of progress, and step into the dirt, into the pain, into the work. And the majority, they'll never do it. They'll keep posting, keep planning, keep talking, keep pretending. Because pretending keeps them safe from disappointment, safe from failure, safe from facing the truth. Pretending is their shelter, their comfort zone, their mask. And masks are easier to wear than scars. That's why only a few will ever act, and the rest will keep living in the performance, never realizing the curtain closed on their lives long ago. True change demands isolation from the crowd. Not the kind of isolation where you're locked in a room, but the kind where you walk among people and still feel miles apart. Because the crowd doesn't want you to change. The crowd wants you to stay the same, to move with them, to blend in. The moment you decide to break free, you're no longer one of them. You become a threat to their comfort, a mirror that reflects their weakness, and they'll do everything they can to pull you back down. Look closely. People cheer for change when it's far away, when it's abstract, when it doesn't touch their little world. But when someone they know decides to change, suddenly the cheers turn to whispers, the support turns to doubt, the smiles hide envy. They'll laugh at you, mock you, call you crazy, not because you're wrong, but because you dared to do what they're too afraid to attempt. That's when you realize change doesn't just separate you from your old self. It separates you from the crowd you once called your own. The silence comes first. Invitations stop. Conversations dry up. Suddenly you're the odd one out, the one who doesn't fit anymore. And it hurts. Because part of you still craves belonging, still wants to be accepted. But the path of change doesn't allow it. To step into your true self, you have to step away from the noise, from the approval, from the comfort of numbers. You have to embrace the fact that your road won't be crowded, it'll be lonely. And in that loneliness, most people collapse. They crawl back to the crowd just to feel the warmth of company, even if it means suffocating their own growth. They trade their fire for acceptance, their freedom for applause, their future for the comfort of the familiar. That's why so few ever change, because change is exile. Change is standing alone in the cold, while the rest sit by the fire telling themselves they're happy. The chosen few. They walk into that exile willingly. They let the silence sharpen them. They let the whispers fuel them. They learn to build a fortress inside themselves so they don't need the approval of the crowd. They take the pain of isolation and turn it into strength. Because in isolation, you see clearly. Without the noise, you finally hear your own voice. Without the crowd, you discover who you really are. And isolation isn't just physical, it's mental. The way you think begins to set you apart. While the crowd chases comfort, you chase growth. While they hide from pain, you embrace it. While they cling to excuses, you tear them apart. The more you change, the less you fit, and the less you fit, the more alone you become. But that's the price. The path to true change doesn't run through the crowd. It runs away from it. You'll feel the weight of doubt pressing in. You'll feel the sting of being misunderstood. You'll feel the ache of walking alone when every part of you wants to turn back and join the others. But that's the test. The ones who keep walking, who endure the loneliness without letting it break them. They become something the crowd can't touch. The crowd may have numbers, but the chosen have depth. The crowd may have comfort, but the chosen have transformation. Isolation is the furnace. It strips away the need for applause. It burns off the weakness. It hardens the will. The crowd will never understand it, and that's the point. Change was never meant for everyone. It was only meant for the few willing to walk alone, to let the silence shape them, to embrace the exile as the proof that they're becoming something the crowd could never be.